So you're new to Genshin, you do a 10 pull on the current banner, and while you don't get a 5-star, you do get 4-star Kirara. Now what do you get with Kirara besides a character that started out as an actual kitten? Well, Kirara is a sword-wielding Dendro user whose skill protects you just like she protects her packages. And in this beginner guide, we're going to talk about everything that you should hopefully need to know about playing Kirara as a beginner or just a person that is new to her character. I'm Kessie, Mango, or whatever the hell you want to call me. And because not everybody's AR60 or 36-star Abyss, I make videos that hopefully anybody can understand no matter what their adventure rank. So if you are a new player and you do need some help grinding bosses or exploring, do be sure to check out the link to the Discord below in the description. Join the community, we hang out, we go in voice chat, we help everybody out. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and let's get into this. All right, so just like every other beginner guide video that we do on here, we're going to look at my personal Kirara's build first, just in case you do not see the same numbers. That might be why. So my Kirara is only level 50, so relatively low. She does have 24,000 HP, 778 attack, 209 EM, and 145 energy recharge for her burst. For a weapon, I am running a level 50 sapwood blade, and this is a weapon that in order to get it, you do have to go to Sumeru and go through the wonderfully long R&R quest, but that's for a different video. For artifacts, I am running 2-piece VG, 2-piece tenacity, just to get her HP up. Constellation C0. So all in all, a pretty close to beginner build besides the artifacts and besides the weapon. C0, low talent level, only level 50. So you'll get a really good kind of look at an early level Kirara. So now we're going to talk about her normal attack, her skill, and her burst. Now, when I do her skill and her burst, you might see a little leaf on the ground. That's from her weapon. That is not from her skill or her burst or anything like that. Okay, so her normal attack is pretty standard. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that 5th one on the last one. Her charge attack is going to be 3 hits. Just like that. She does kind of pull out the claws to do it, which kind of looks really cool. Okay, so now we're going to talk about her skill. Now, her skill does have a tap and a hold. Whenever we do the tap, she's just going to do a backflip kick, applying Dendro, and granting a shield. Now, if we do the hold, she will do the backflip kick again. However, she does turn into this wonderful package delivery box of doom, and you can see that once you come in contact with the enemy, it reapplies Dendro, which it does not do that on the tap or the press. It only works when she's in that cat box form. The skill cooldown is longer, but the skill cooldown does match the shield uptime, so you really have no downtime on the shield as long as the shield doesn't break. So you can just see it's just reapplying Dendro. So now we're going to talk about her burst. Now her burst is going to summon down this package, dealing AoE Dendro damage, and putting these cat head-shaped Dendro circle thingies on the ground. As you see, whenever an enemy runs into them, it will deal Dendro damage, and just like that last one did, even if nobody touches it, it will explode after a certain amount of time, dealing Dendro damage. Now, when it comes to whether or not Kirara is an on-field or off-field, she's kind of a mix, right? So if we use her shield, she only applies Dendro continuously when she's in the cat box form. But if we swap to another character, the shield does stay up. But just like in her human form, it does not apply Dendro any longer. And if we use her burst, it will still summon those. And if we swap characters, they still stay on the field doing what they're supposed to be doing. If anybody touches them, they explode, or they will explode after a certain amount of time on their own. So she has a lot of opportunity to apply Dendro in her cat box form, which has to be on field. So you can do a lot of kind of quicken reactions or bloom reactions if you have her with a Hydro user, but she does have to be on the field in her cat box form. And in order to do a lot of damage, you would have to kind of build her a little differently than you would if you wanted to have a lot of shield protection. But we'll talk about that whenever we get into the artifacts. Now there's one last thing to talk about whenever it comes to Kirara's skill. and that is going to be how amazing she is at climbing cliffs. Now, if you do the hold version of her skill, and you turn to the Catbox Terror of Doom, as you can see, she scales cliffs so well. She is very, very good for using in the overworld whenever it comes to using her skill for climbing, especially if you are in leeway and you're trying to explore leeway. It is so good to have Kirara for climbing cliffs, even sideways. She's so good. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. So currently, and this might be a little bit over beginner, but that's okay. I use Kirara in my Hyper Bloom team. And what I use her for is to apply Dendro in her Catbox of Terror and Doom form to create blooms with Kuki's off-field skill, triggering the Hyper Blooms. That is what I use her for. So if you want her for a lot of reactions, you have to have her on field in the Catbox Terror of Doom form. For artifacts, now because her shield does scale off of HP, there's a couple of different things that you can do, right? One of them is going to be to do like a 2-piece adventure set, because that's one of the only beginner friendly artifacts that can get up your max HP, and a 2-piece instructor set. Now, the instructor set is going to be for Elemental Mastery, which is really, really good for Kirara and Dendro reactions in general. If you aren't necessarily worried about her shield, then I would just go a 4-piece instructor set to get up your Elemental Mastery even further. Again, really, really good for Dendro reactions like Bloom, or for Aggravate, which we'll make a whole video on Aggravate and Quicken and Spread. Now, for the main stats, even if you did Instructor, I would probably still do HP percent, which would just make her shield stronger. If not, you could do Elemental Mastery. You could do a full Elemental Mastery build on her, but HP percent might be better just to make her shield stronger, especially if you pulled her as a beginner. She has a very decent shield. And the problem with Noelle, who you get for free, is that her shield does not have permanent uptime like Kirara's does. Again, HP percent. If you did want to build her for damage, you would be doing attack percent right here. Dendro damage bonus if you had it. If not, do another attack percent. And then right here, you would be doing crit damage, crit rate, something like that. For substats, of course, HP, attack percent, crit rate, crit damage, elemental mastery. Those are going to be the ones that you're going for. If you are going to be using her for blooms, you can really ignore crit rate and crit damage because blooms can't crit. If you are using her for that kind of stuff, then you really want to focus on HP, attack percent, and elemental mastery. Okay, so now we're going to look at weapons. Specifically, if you are using her for an elemental mastery build, Iron Sting, which is a 4-star craftable weapon, is really, really, really good for her. That is probably one of her best weapons that is free to play that you can get early because it gets up her elemental mastery. Something else that could be good would be Cool Steel. It does get up your attack percent, and it increases damage against opponents affected by Hydro or Cryo, which would be Barbara and Kaya as a beginner. Skyward Sword could also be good for energy recharge, just because if you wanted to use her burst to kind of put landmines out there for people to walk into, that could be good as well. Of course, you could do the Fillet Blade. It does increase attack percent. Also, you have that 50% chance to deal a bunch of attack damage to a single target. That is if she is on field and you are swinging the sword, not if she's in the Catbox Terror of Doom. And then, of course, you do have Harbinger of Dawn, which gets up crit damage. And then HP over 90% increases crit rate as well. That could be good with her because of the shield protecting her will allow that passive to stay up. So all in all, you do have a couple of decent 3-star options to use for Kirara. None of them really look too bad. I wouldn't do Traveler's Handy Sword because of the defense percent. I would stick with one of these 4. And if you can make it, Iron Sting. Iron Sting is going to be her best for that elemental mastery. So for a beginner-friendly party for Kirara, right, you could do a makeshift fridge team with Barbara and Kaya. Now, a fridge team essentially is where you freeze your enemies and create blooms around them with Dendro and Hydro. And because the enemies are frozen and they can't move, the Dendro cores just explode next to them. And you do get Kale for free, so you could do double Dendro, which would be good because if you click up here in Elemental Resonance, you get Elemental Mastery. You do get a buff in Elemental Mastery. You could do a makeshift fridge team. So we're going to give this team a run and see how this works. So what we could do is we could drop Kaya's Burst, Barbara's Skill, and then just go into the cat. And we are going to freeze, and we are going to cause blooms as we're protected. And you can just see we are just freezing them in place. And it is going to allow those blooms to just explode on them without being able to move. So one more time, just for good measure. Kaya's Skill, Barbara's Skill, or Kaya's Burst, and then we're going to go into the cat. And we are just going to keep these things frozen by being next to them, creating blooms as much as we can, hopefully avoiding them. So while it's not the best fridge team, it can work, especially if you have fewer enemies, right? You could almost permafreeze them. Another option would be if we used Kale, because you do get Kale for free if you clear floor 4 of the Abyss. Kuki, because she is on the current banner. And then if we had, let's go Lynette again. So you could have gotten Kirara and Kuki on the current banner. Kale you get for free, Lynette you get for free. This would be a makeshift kind of aggravate team where you're doing all your reactions between Electro and Dendro. So we're going to go to Kuki. We're going to apply her skill, and then we can actually just kind of do this. Right? And we're just going to be causing aggravate, quicken, spread reactions, which are really, really good if you have built your Kirara for attack, not for shielding. Same thing, we can do this. We can throw Kale in there a little bit. We can use Lynette to pick up Electro. And that's just going to help us cause more aggravate reactions, which is great. Also, a little bit of crowd control, which is good. Kind of get everybody near, so that way we can use her burst a little bit more effectively. You can see how this rotation could definitely work with having... I'm leaving that message in there. That's funny. So you could definitely see how this rotation could work if you were able to get Kuki as well. So I don't have a full-length version of the Quicken and Aggravate guide like I do on my TikTok. That guide's like 5 minutes long. I am going to make one for YouTube, probably in a few videos. So do be sure to look out for that. That is going to be it for the beginner guide for Kirara. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments while you're down there. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I will see you in the next video.